How has COVID-19 affected you, your family, or your community?
Both.
Hello?
Well, I can tell you how it has affected me. And I have never experienced the fear that I have right now about catching COVID. I am like petrified. And I remember when it first started, we had gloves and masks and everything. It was just crazy. And so I'm doing everything I can in terms of taking vitamin C, making sure I'm washing my hands. I don't really want to be with small groups of people because that's what happened to me when I did get what I feel was COVID last year because I didn't have the test kits. Now I have the test kit. I can take it out. I can test myself, which is great. But what I experienced was nothing like I've ever experienced before. Even with the flu, it was very different. It was, I never had gastrointestinal situations or anything like that, and that's how it affected me. I can't go back and really tell you how it was because it's like I can compare it to having a baby. You never remember the pain that you went through. So, I mean, I know that sounds a little crazy, but that's the only way I can explain it. And so it's pretty scary for me. That's how I feel. I just don't want to, I'm afraid of getting sick. I never felt like this in my life, you know? So that's so far.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Yes,
a lot
Lynn.
of my family
I
members.
feel the same way. I am afraid of getting sick. I am overly cautious, more cautious than a number of other people around me. And I feel sometimes that they might feel that I'm a wuss or whatever you want to say, but I am afraid of getting sick. I have a couple of illnesses that I feel that, you know, someone said to me yesterday, oh, well, if you get it, it's nothing much now. But I thought with having some concerns about my health to begin with, getting that on top, I would be very sick. That's how I feel. When it first started, I thought if I get it, I'm going to die. This is before the vaccines. I thought if I get it, that's it. That's it. It's very scary, and it still is. Even today, I just read the paper, this new variant came out, and it is not more severe than the others, but it is many more times as contagious. I forget the numbers or the letters or whatever. But it's still out there and it's blooming.
And I think with COVID and then now you have the virus and with the flu, it's really scary because you don't know which one you're going to catch. You know, and then you go and you wear a mask, you don't wear a mask. Some people are wearing masks, some are not wearing masks. So it's really still just as scary. When it first happened, I know I was afraid to even touch the mail. You know, when I went shopping, I would come home and I'd wipe everything off. It was just, and I think it's because we were afraid of the unknown because it was something that we had never experienced before.
Yeah.
And we brought alcohol with us and we would wipe our hands all the time. Whenever we went, we would spray everything.
All the food we brought home.
And we'd spray all the food that we brought home. We were afraid of people touching the food.
We wouldn't leave the house. We didn't go out. We felt like prisoners in our own home. And then after that, the vaccines came, and we were still worried we were going to get sick. And it went on like that, and it's still going like that. We're always worried that we could get sick in some way, somehow. And it's all changed. Our life has changed permanently.
My sister got it, and her husband got it, and my friends got it. So I know people have had it and they had it pretty bad. They needed to take the medication. I forget the name of the medication.
Even
Is it
after
Tamiflu?
No, something with the,
No.
I
Pfizer,
think. I don't remember the name of it.
did they take the Pfizer one?
No.
Oh, you were talking about the, okay. Yeah.
Sal,
that-
do you,
Go ahead.
Sal, do you have anything that you'd like to be able to share?
Yes, yes, I would. I was one of those people who thought I was relatively healthy and never thought I would get sick. I do have some underlying conditions, diabetes. I had a heart attack in the past and thought I wasn't going to get this. We basically stayed away from large crowds and everything, but we went out to eat with friends from New York and met them halfway. And my friend's wife didn't know she had COVID. And 4 days later, my wife and I both had it. My wife was sick for 4 days. I was sick for 17.
Wow.
Being someone who had a heart attack, and I've had several injuries in my life, and just a lot of things that had happened to me physically, I said, all right, well, this wasn't going to be that bad. If my wife had it for 4 days, I would get through it. But it just continued to get worse and worse, and it affected my diabetes as well. It put my A1C, which always ran at about a 5.9 to 6.1, it put it up over 11.9. And
Mm.
they doubled my medication and couldn't get my diabetes back in order. Through that, I suffered a lot of different things, passing out. I had 104 fever for almost 7 days. Silly me, I refused to go to the hospital because I heard what was going on in the hospitals and people were dying. I had several friends that died as well. But I suffered through it, and through that, I had to have 3 medical procedures done on me as well. I'm now injecting diabetes medication as well because of that. The doctors believe that all this inflammation inside my body because of the COVID uh, set me back a lot and led to bleeding in my kidneys, bladder conditions, stomach problems. It was just really bad, and I never thought I was going to make it through it. I actually had my wife. I gave her my last will and testament on the 11th day of not being able to stand up and get out of bed, and she took the pad and pen, and after I started dictating to her what she needed to do on my passing, she turned around, threw the pad on the floor, and says, "You're not going nowhere." And you know what? She put it in me to get myself in check and will myself to be stronger. I also went through 2 different medications. Prednisone was the first one, and then Paxlovid, which was the second one, which
Did
none
that
of them,
help?
none of them seemed to
Oh.
help. None of them seemed to help. But just, I guess, a lot of chicken soup. Uh, and basically through those 17 days, I lost 14 pounds. It was a devastating time for me. Like I said, I didn't think I was going to make it through it, but didn't want to go to the hospital in it because I thought that was certainly a death sentence. But my life has changed since then also. And luckily for my, and this is going to sound crazy, my diabetes going through the roof, and being at a 450 on a daily level. I found an endocrinologist, and they were promoting Maggie Weaver and her diabetes course. And thanks to the education and things that I learned through that course, I was able to help myself. And I know that sounds crazy, but I was able to help myself because there's things, as someone who had diabetes for 9 years, but I thought I had it in control this time. I was able to do the right thing, and I'm proud to say today my levels are great. My endocrinologist says she's proud of me. So, and I got to meet some really good people who were so helpful and gave so much of themselves. Mary Jean being one of them, Jala, the other one. But I was blessed to just to be involved in that course, and it has helped me immensely. And I'm doing the best I can now to stay out of large crowds still and away from people. And trying to get back on track, and I think I'm doing so. But thank you for your time and listening to me.
Mhm.
Well, we're glad you're here and you're glad you've taken this information and used it for self-management. That's what the point of it is. And you're going to be our poster person for the program. So I'll be reaching out to you. So I hope you have an agent. Actually, I'd rather just deal with your wife. She sounds like she knows what she's doing.
Oh yes, oh yes. I call her the food police, but you know she's got. Are you supposed to be having that? Yeah, yeah. Between Christmas, my birthday, and New Year's, they all go in the same week. I did falter a little bit, but my numbers didn't go that high. I was good, you
Good,
know, and
good.
feeling healthy, hitting the treadmill every day. You know, I just started a little weightlifting program as well, so I'm getting there. I'm getting there. This past week, my birthday was one I didn't think I was gonna have. So
Well,
I am
happy
blessed.
birthday.
I am
And then
blessed.
Mary
Thank you.
Jean, so we can keep on track. These are great stories. Thank you so much for sharing them. And we'll just maybe skip to another question.
Sal, we're very proud of you as well. All right, so let me move forward. Very, very
Thank you.
proud of you.
Thank you.
All right, with a show of hands, how many of you received the COVID-19 shot? Okay, that looks like everybody. Not you, Sal?
No,
Okay.
anti-vax.
And I guess how about the booster shot? All right, now, what are your reasons for getting it?
Here. I'm afraid not to get it. I've always taken advantage of every, you know, with the shingles, I've gotten the shots, and with pneumonia, whatever. So why wouldn't I get that? You know, it was very important, and it was very difficult. I don't know if you're going to cover that at all, but it was very difficult to get the shots. Okay, I'll wait.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I didn't
Talk
know.
about that.
Are you going to cover that, or?
You're going to cover it for us.
Oh, okay. It was extremely difficult. I could not figure out how or where or what to do as I live in a building, a condominium, and it seemed like no one in my building, including the managers and the people at the desk, nobody knew what to do. And my daughter, God bless her, she was after me. You've got to get the shot, Mom. You've got to get them. I said, I am trying. I cannot connect. I'm with the state of New Jersey. I'm trying. And she got on her computer and she got a site. And I tried to get her to tell me what it was today, and she couldn't remember. But I think it was with the state. And she got this site. No, she got a person at, it was Atlantic Cape Community College. I think that was where I went. And she got someone there, and she kept refreshing the site every 15 minutes for an entire day, and did it the next day. And she kept coming back until she saw there was a time slot, called immediately, spoke to this woman, and set up an appointment for me. And she said, I have a very dear friend in the building, Beverly, as you may know her. And she said, and do you have another one? And she didn't want to say friend because she thought she wouldn't get it. She said, my mother's partner. So the woman said, oh, absolutely. And she said, we'll put her in at such and such a time. It had to be a different time of the day or whatever. And she said, I have him down. What's his name? And my daughter said, her. She said it to her. So the woman said, oh, absolutely. And she wrote down her name, and she got my friend an appointment as well. So that made two of us in the building. But I have to tell you also, I have another friend who moved to Florida now. She and her husband tried to get a shot. They lived in my building. They could not get it anywhere in the area. They made an appointment finally at Rowan college. And they didn't drive. They had to hire a driver to take them to Rowan College. It cost them over $100 to go get the shots.
Hmm.
There was, the convention center was giving shots.
That was later. That was later.
Oh, okay.
In fact, I called, oh no, the state finally called me. I guess I hit something on the computer and I was registering with the state.
Mhm.
They didn't call me back until I think I had already gotten the first, we got them a month apart, I believe. They
Mhm.
didn't call me for the first shot till I had already gotten the second one. So
Wow.
they were way behind. The
Hmm.
state, you know, I'm thinking ahead for God forbid if there should be another pandemic of any kind. The state has got to think in advance how they have to prepare. This was no way to run a whatever you want to call it. We needed something that would be in place and something that would be on a hotline or whatever. And we'd say, this is when your appointment is, to call us and give us a time or figure it out for us. There are a lot of older people, they're all older in my building. And there was no way that these people knew. Some of them didn't even know how to work a computer or to get on there and to do anything. They didn't know what to do.
I know my kids scheduled it for me.
Yes, like my daughter. Yeah. Yeah.
It
but
was,
I
it
couldn't
was
figure it out.
difficult. It was very difficult. And I don't know where you live, Len, but I believe I had spoken with you because I remember you telling me that your daughter had made an appointment for you. And I said, well, you know, if you have an issue, let me know. So we got on the phone right away and called people in our village and our other older adults. And we like begged and pleaded, and we were able to get pretty much everybody in the village who wanted a vaccine vaccinated. It was tricky. We had all kinds of people at work on the computers for them, and it was very difficult. And I'm sure all of you who wanted to get a vaccine wasn't able to do it in necessarily the timing that you wanted to do it, and it was difficult. But and anybody else, please speak out. But this leads really right into the next one of the other questions is, what could the state do better? You know, how could they have, you know, what did you feel was missing?
I don't know what they could do better. I was a little apprehensive at first to get the shot. And so I guess that's why later I made an appointment at Convention Hall in Atlantic City. But meanwhile, one of the churches in Pleasantville, they were given the shot. So someone called me up and said, if you just go to Pleasantville, you didn't have to make an appointment and just show up. And I just showed up and I got the shot. I got the original and the first booster. I didn't get the second booster. So again, I guess because I was a little apprehensive, so I guess I waited later to get the shot.
I think eventually they came to my building to give shots, but by then, most people that were going to get the shots or had already received them elsewhere.
Mhm.
It was
Right.
so delayed. The whole process took, I thought, much longer than it should have.
Mhm.
Right, Convention Hall, you had to make the appointment, I guess, way in advance, like a week or so in advance. But
I
I
have a
didn't
question.
go there though.
May I just ask if anybody wants to share if they still have their same feelings about the vaccines or the boosters, or if it's changed? And if it has, why? I'm just taking over right here, Mary Jean, because of the
It's all right. That's
time.
all good, Sharon.
My
I don't know
feeling-
if anybody else has the same, I'm sorry if I interrupt somebody. My computer keeps saying the interconnection is unstable and everybody keeps, it says unstable
But we hear you well.
Uh,
We hear you well. You're coming in loud and clear.
He
Is
just
that only
asked.
me?
Yes, you're coming in loud and clear. So if you want to share, please do.
Well, that was my problem is I can't hear, it keeps fading in and out and you
Oh,
guys
okay.
freeze up and stop.
Okay.
So I'll just
We-
listen to you guys, okay?
Okay, because we could hear you loud and clear. Okay.
So can you hear me now?
Excuse me?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
So if you want to share either how the pandemic impacted you or people you know in your family, or if you've had vaccines or if you've had any change of views about the vaccines, that's what we're talking about.
Well, I didn't catch the virus at all. I live by myself, so I very rarely ever have interaction with anybody except to go to the grocery store or up the street to the drugstore and get my grocery shopping and get my prescription. So I'm very well isolated most of the time anyway. But my neighbor right next to me, he went and got the my primary about it, and my primary just gave me a little script to take to the CVS up the street, and I made an appointment with them. Came back like a day or two later, got Moderna, so I got a second shot. And I never even came close to getting it, but there was my neighbor in the building next to me. He almost died. They were going to take him off the ventilator so he could die. But that's as close as I came to any of it.
Wow.
And he made it through?
Yeah, thank God he's still with us. He's alive, and the guy's had a hard life before it happened, and it was they thought he's on disability like I am, and he's home most of the day, and they think that his wife working in the bank brought it home to him, and it almost killed him.
Wow. Scary.
Yeah.
As one of the unvaccinated, I can give you my thoughts. I had several friends who got COVID and passed away from it, and they were vaccinated and actually had the boosters as well. My cardiologist originally advised against it because of my heart condition, and that was one of the reasons that I decided not to. But when I seen other people who had the vaccination and then had the boosters as well passing away, to me, it just seemed like something I didn't want to do if I was going to get COVID and die anyway from it. So I had to seriously think about what I was going to do, and that, like I said, that's my personal choice. I think everybody should do what they think is best for them.
Thank you.
Anybody else care to share?
Well, I had 2 vaccines in the beginning. And I thought, this is what I had to do because sort of everybody was in a panic. I had 2 vaccines from Walmart. Somebody notified me that they were giving out the vaccine. And then I was contemplating all year about should I get a booster. I was planning on getting it. But then since then, there's information that I've read about it. And I don't want to have the flu shot. First time I had the flu shot was several years ago, and I was in bed for a week after that. I don't want any vaccines of anything. That's where I'm at. No
Mhm,
vaccines for me.
mhm.
So,
Right.
what came up at our last session this afternoon is interesting is where do you go? What sources do you go to for information about the pandemic and vaccines and like, who do you trust to go to? Where do you get your information? How do you kind of sift through it and figure out, do you talk to your doctors? What were your doctors telling you? Just so we can get an idea of, you know, where people got their information from.
I got it from the newspapers. I
On the internet.
generally read a couple of papers a day, plus I get a site called Axios. I'm on there, and I guess that's generally where I get my information. And when I've had a checkup at the doctor, you know, I would, of course, talk about it with the doctor.
And as someone
Yeah.
said, the internet, right?
On the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sal?
the internet.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I read my papers on the internet. So, yeah, yeah.
I stopped relying on the news, basically, and depended on my doctors. I figured they had the experience and the knowledge, and most of them knew what was going on inside the hospitals, which was a horror story. But it's very hard to believe because you could watch one channel and then watch another channel on the news and read something on the internet and get 3 different stories. So,
Yeah.
you know, so if I go straight to the source with these doctors who have the knowledge and they're inside the hospitals and they see what's going on, you know, and they know, I relied on them and I trusted them.
Harvey, did you want to say something?
Oh,
Yes, I would just like to say the COVID experience for me was kind of difficult because it affected me on my job. Schools closed down and I had to work from home. And that was a very, very big adjustment for me and also for the kids that I taught and canceled. As far as the vaccination, I had trust in the country that they would come up with something. They came up with something in 1960, I remember having to get the polio vaccination, and it was almost looked similar to what I seen down at the convention center when people were getting their shots. All children had to go to their elementary schools, and there were long lines and people that was apprehensive and scared. So it was an experience for me, but got through it, and I had confidence that this country would come up with a vaccine.
there was one other site I just thought of. There was a televised conference every day. It was nationwide. I can't remember who led it.
Yeah, I think it was
I
on
know-
CNN, wasn't it?
I think it may have been, yeah. But they had, you know, so someone came on every day. Who was it? I don't remember.
The state had
I know the New York governor was on every day or very
Yeah,
often.
yeah, the New York governor.
The
And,
former New York governor.
The former New York governor,
Yeah.
yes. And I know the former president had a news conference, I think, every day. And Dr. Fauci was on there, and I listened to him. Yeah. So there were different sources for news, but as you say, you don't know who or what to believe. But I had to think that Dr. Fauci knew what was going on. He was getting information from every state.
Lucy diabetic program.
It was scary because you would look at the news and you would see the numbers where people were dying. And I think that's kind of what scared me, just seeing all the numbers.
Yes, yeah.
So we have about another, I don't know, like 8 minutes. Mary Jean, do you have one question or you want to wrap it up with, or just ask a general question?
I'm just going to ask a question. How do you think that the state or local organization could help more people have confidence in the access to the vaccine?
To the
Access
vaccine for COVID or any vaccine?
For COVID, for the vaccine, for the booster?
For all of it, just like what could they have done? People were afraid and they didn't know what to do, and
I think no
Sal
one knew
spoke.
what was going on. So at that time, it was new for everyone. We'd never seen anything like that before.
It was like some kind of a new vaccine, and what I've read is that it's so new that it wasn't tested except on all the people that had to take it, I guess. I mean, that's my take on it. So, I mean, how do people know that it's really something that's really going to work, maybe for a few months or something? And,
And they keep
not
telling you
only
you need
that,
another booster.
but what happened to the people that died, though? It affected their heart or their body somehow. I mean, we don't know really. Who does know? I mean, so that in that case, since I feel that way about it, that's why I've decided I don't want any boosters. I don't want any vaccines. I'm just going to go try to take care of myself naturally if I can.
Exactly.
That's what I'm trying to do. Vitamin C, vitamins, washing my hands, trying to be, diligent about my behavior, and hope that, I can make it through the winter, because this is the time for me is January and February. If I'm going to get sick, that's when it's going to happen, usually.
And then you
So-
don't know if the mask works. I just saw that in the Camden school system and some of the other school systems where they're telling the kids to wear a mask again. So it's hard to say, even if, does that work?
I think
Yeah.
that a lot with the young people is it RSV or something like that, whatever the respiratory is. So they have COVID, flu, and this is it RSV? I don't know.
I think so.
And so it's very challenging when you don't have a choice and you have to be in with a lot of people. And so I think that there's just been so many young children that have been sick, and not necessarily COVID, but some of these other respiratory diseases that are still very scary. And, one leads to another. And then they have all these long haulers that have, all these symptoms after it. It is every day they come out with a new finding or a new theory on something, and the variant changes as quickly as the information. So, I guess if there was one thing, and I'm making this question up now, if there's one thing you could say to the people listening to this, one thing you could do moving forward that would help me, what would it be?
I would
Go
say
ahead.
protect yourself and be careful where you go and who you're around, because you never know who has this illness, and
Right.
just one step in the wrong direction and your life could be over. So you're putting your life in other people's hands if you're going to be in large crowds or in large gatherings of people. The other thing I've heard other people say, take vitamins. I think that's helpful as well. We have to have more knowledge on what's going on. Like you said, the answer can't be, we have another variant and now there's another shot and there's another booster. We don't even know what's in these things and how they're going to affect people long term, So if you get this now, they're getting it out so quickly because they want to help people. I understand that fully, but you don't know how it's going to affect people long term, and that's the scary part. I want to be around for a while, so
We want you to too. Okay, so
Thank
more
you.
knowledge is one of it. David, did you have something you wanted to say?
I was just going to say my experience, excuse me, my experience was going to my primary. It was really simple. I just went to my primary. They mentioned a few things about it, and they gave me a paper and told me to call my drugstore. I called my drugstore, and in like 2-3 days, I had an appointment. My neighbor went to go to the convention center and all that, waiting in line and all that. when all I had to do was contact my primary. It was really simple to get the information I needed because I relied strictly on my primary instead of all these people talking about going here and going there and this happening. That seemed to be the best advice to me, for me.
That's great. Not everybody had access to their primary care provider, but I'm very happy to hear that you did. Anybody else other than more information and access to the primary care provider?
I think the state has to have a plan, a better plan to communicate with people. A quicker plan, quicker way of doing it.
And more direct. This afternoon, we were talking about some people aren't computer literate. Some people can't get on a Zoom. Some people don't even have a smartphone, which there's nothing wrong with that, but everything comes in text. Everything comes on the computer.
Yeah.
And if you have a language barrier or literacy issues or whatever it is, we had somebody that was not able to read and was really in the dark. So, not more information, access to your primary care is key because that person, that provider knows you and your situation and information that you can access and not just, virtually or online, because that was very hard for people.
Mhm.
A
I
lot
think
of
with all
the
the news-
doctor offices were closed, or you'd have to have a virtual appointment with your doctor.
Mhm.
How many
Yeah.
people have wanted to go see their doctor and been told to go to urgent care? Who wants to go to urgent care? Nobody wants to go to urgent care.
No.
So, Mary Jean, I'll let you wrap it up at 7:15.
All right, everyone. Thank you very, very much for participating. I will reach out to you and, I'll reach out to you about your gift cards. So
Oh, okay.
thank you very, very much. We appreciate you participating. And in the meantime, stay healthy and have a good year.